It's a new year, and with every new year comes the refresh after holiday break, the review of process and personnel alike, and the renewed sense of determination to make each year of Star Citizen's development even better than the last. And in 2024, that includes the return of so many Squadron 42 developers to our persistent universe fold, all of which are working to add their features and advancements to the already stellar work of the SC devs we all know and love. And so to get this multi-month marathon started, let's throw it now to Chris, Alexis, Gennady, Inez, and Kian of the eponymously named Team Kian to show us a bit of what they're working on for Alpha 323.
So we showed a lot of interesting things in CitizenCon, and a lot of which is from Kian's team. We're going to be bringing a lot of that to you guys soon this year. And we're going to be talking about the designs of those features and also how we went about making them. You're going to be doing a lot of these for the next 4 months, aren't you?
Yeah.
The old EVA system had its purpose, but it had a lot of problems.
So the old EVA was not quite controllable.
The entry and exit into EVA not being very smooth, a lot of face planting. Changing orientation was a problem. You never really knew which kind of way your body was in. The upright pose was a little bit awkward for traversing spaces as well. You couldn't really fit into narrow spaces, and it was a bit restrictive for transitioning around space stations and things like that, especially interior spaces.
In addition to that, the sort of volume you take in order to rotate and look around is huge. It's basically rotating your body every time you just look to the right, look up, etc. That doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great, and it doesn't feel wonderful if you're in a confined space because, again, you're clipping against everything.
Just don't really think it fit with what we want to do in our game.
It's not a bad system. It got us to where we are today. But we want to make improvements, and there are other features and systems that we need to tie into EVA, which brings us to what's coming this year. So there's multiple aspects of the new EVA system that makes it a lot more versatile. The first is that when you start looking around, it's your camera and your head that's moving. Your body most of the time doesn't. So if I'm heading in a certain direction and I want to see what's behind me, I can just look behind me, but I see my body. I get that instant frame of reference as to where I am, where my body is, and it just grounds the experience.
So with the new system, we put the player into a more prone pose, kind of a superhero pose, makes them a much smaller silhouette when traversing around areas.
Can you show us how the EVA works? Show us how the EVA works.
So now EVA works like this. You move forward and you just fly.
How about when you turn, when you rotate?
And when you rotate, you're like...
The footprint of the character doesn't start to change. So if I want to look around in this tight-knit space, I'm not suddenly spinning around and knocking all the things off the shelves. I'm just looking around, which means that the metrics we can support for that feature suddenly become much more versatile. You can get on a vent rather than not being able to fit into a room. It's also a lot prettier to watch someone who's got a weapon or just looking around, rotating around as they're doing so. From the outside, it looks better. From the player experience, it just really helps out. You know where you are and what you're doing.
We've smoothed out transitions entering and exiting EVA. So no more face planting unless you really, really try.
In new EVA, you can just press forward and you fly. If you release the button, you keep flying while you still can rotate and look around.
Yeah, we've allowed it so you can turn on the spot without altering your silhouette, which is quite nice for interior traversal again. Feels a lot more natural, a lot more responsive to the player.
Yeah, we're going like this. Great.
The features we're going to be bringing out at some point later, soon, we've got zero-G traversal, and that's you attaching to a surface. In the previous system, again, because the character was upright the entire time, it just wouldn't have gelled well with that feature. You're effectively in prone, but attached to a surface, and you're moving along that surface or gliding along it if you sprint. That just transitions really nicely from the pose we have for zero-G traversal to the EVA pose. It's almost exactly the same. It's also very similar to prone. So, for example, if you were in a vent and all of a sudden the gravity went out, you could crawl along it in zero-G traversal or move around it in EVA without changing what your body's doing, which just means that it's a far more seamless experience. There's much less chance of anything going wrong as a result of that as well.
We've also introduced the EVA fuel and momentum. So once you start traveling forwards in one direction, you'll keep going in that direction until you press another input or the space brake to stop. This becomes especially important when we introduce EVA fuel. So you'll have a finite amount of fuel, and just that little boost could be enough just to get you back to the safety of a space station or your ship. It sets us up nicely for zero-G push-pull, which comes further down the line.
So in terms of what that means for user player and what you're going to be doing with this feature, it allows us to use EVA to get you guys going from your ship to another ship, from your ship to an abandoned space station. You can fly inside ships and space stations without gravity now, without fear of bashing your head and your legs all over the place. It really makes it a much more smooth and easy to use system. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's just more fun. I enjoy just flying in and out of test levels between ships, etc. With the old system, it's a bit slow and lackluster. With this, I feel like I'm a superhero while I'm going around in space. So yeah, the new EVA feature, as you guys see it today, it's hopefully going to look even better once it gets into your hands. And yeah, we're really excited to see what you guys think of it.
All right, let's talk about pipe pits.
Well, it was better when it was piss pit.
It used to be piss pit?
Yeah, player interaction
Pipe pit?
system. Yeah.
So let's talk about the new pipe piss.
Gotta stop saying.
I was too late to change it. I like to say PIS because, yep, sounds better.
I try to avoid HR complaints.
So the burning question is, what is pipe piss? Well, it's everything you interact with around you and how you go about doing that.
It's not always easy to select the interaction that you're looking for.
You have to drag your cursor then to make your selection. And it's not really very fast or intuitive.
And in general, it got in the way of you doing what you wanted. It added an extra layer of menuing that wasn't necessary.
But there's some things that we wanted to solve, and that's what the new system does.
So with the new personal interaction experience, we have multiple ways of improving how you interact with the items around you.
So we've released little parts of the new system in the past with the pit wheel and the quick select wheels and the control hints. This is by far the biggest iteration on it and will totally change how you interact with things in the world. We've introduced the new interaction prompt, which will show you which item you will interact with by just tapping F, and will also show you the type of interaction that will be performed.
So the new system, the players don't have to go into interaction mode to interact with the objects.
We've updated that to have an on-screen icon. It gives you the input that you need to press, and it gives you an idea of what you're actually going to do when you press it. So that ambiguity of, am I in range? Is it the item I'm going to interact with? It's gone. You've got an immediate bit of feedback that tells you what you're going to interact with, what you need to press to interact with it, and what you'll do when you interact with it.
So if you're looking at a plushie on the desk, it'll show an F above it with grab, and you can just pick that item up with that. We've also introduced the personal interaction wheel, which instead of the list view will now give us a nice radio menu that lets you select exactly what you want to do in a much more intuitive manner.
And with the wheel, it's much more seamless, and it feels more like there's no barrier between you and the interactions.
and that's locked for the screen. So you can't miss. You're already selecting something, and it's 99% of the time what you want to interact with. Don't sneeze while you're pressing the button. It's much more intuitive. It's much easier to use. And that option, that problem I mentioned, where if you're trying to interact with what's in your hand, that's gone. Now the new system just opens the wheel and you select what you want to do with what's in your hand. It just works.
So this new interaction wheel plays really nicely with default item actions, which has been in development for a while, but it needed the whole system to come together as one before we released it.
If, for example, you're out mining gems after blowing up rocks with your multi-tool, you might want to pick a gem up and look at it. Or you might want to just store it directly into your backpack. You now have the option to customize and say, when I look down at that piece of gem, show me the prompt. It's always going to show store, or it's always going to show carry or inspect. It's up to you. And you can change that on the fly and it'll remember it. And it just allows you to customize your own experience.
Now the player doesn't have to go to interaction mode to make a selection. It can just simply tap to trigger the behavior.
The new system is entirely data-driven, so from our perspective, it makes it really easy to customize from a designer's point of view. And again, because we've set up that data, you can then customize it yourself.
It allows you to customize the primary and the secondary interaction. So you can change what just tapping F while looking at something does.
If the player changes the default item on that item, the selection will be saved across all the items that match that state and the item category.
It picks up on what you want to do with different item types. So if you want to cuddle a plushie, you can set that to be your default inspect. If you want to be picking up golden lemons and storing them directly whilst you're harvesting, you can set store to be your default, and then that's the way it'll stay. If you want to equip ammo as soon as you come across it to your suit, you can set that as your default item action. So it's something that, with a little bit of interaction from yourself, means that you can customize and tweak your own play experience and really rough out the edges in terms of your minute-to-minute gameplay and how you interact with things.
We've also introduced a new scoring system for interaction points that allows us to better select which interaction point is of interest to the player. This is based on distance from the player, angle to the cursor or center screen, and whether it's on screen or not. It also allows us to interact with things that aren't quite on screen, so if there's a trolley handle just below you, you'll be able to tap F and you should just grab it. This makes it a lot more intuitive. Something on the ground can have a different default action to something in your hand. This is all set up and customized through the interaction wheel.
And then obviously the player now doesn't have to go into interaction mode, drag the cursor, make the selection. It can just simply tap or double tap to trigger the secondary action, and that should be a much easier experience for the player.
We'll forget about what was there before. It'll feel like it has always belonged. You won't be able to live without it, really.
That's just some of the things our team has been working on over the last few months and bringing to SE Alpha 323.
We're looking at bringing you lots more stuff from our work on Squadron 42 into Star Citizen. We're really excited to get that into your hands to improve your overall player experience, the way you travel through the verse. Yeah, when you get your hands on it, please let us know what you think. We're really excited to find out.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that EVA looks sick. Sure, usually I'm a bit more eloquent than that, but damn, I'm allowed to mark out sometimes. That the way we interact with the persistent universe around us is getting a whole lot more intuitive and customizable. And that this new EVA, new default item actions, and new personal interaction system are just the beginning of what this spring's Alpha 323 has to offer. Yes, Virginia, it's gonna be a big one. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Be sure you check out tomorrow's Star Citizen Live, where we dive into even more Alpha 323 goodness, and we'll see you all here next week. Da, 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 da. Da 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 da.